Bad dance. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Bytes podcast, episode number 178 of the show. I'm Ramon Mejia.
Yes, you are, and I'm Edgardo Acosta.
And every single week on the podcast, we bring you the roundup of the week's best geek and tech news. We discuss that news, and of course, anything else we happen to be interested in that week. And this week, we're talking about
the robots that will take your jobs, not my jobs, your jobs. New streaming game platforms, superhero news, the movie trailer showdown, and much more.
Absolutely. And as usual, begin the show, though, with geek news.
I like it.
Yeah.
For the ones that can see the graphic, it's very, to me, reminds me of Mega Man.
Yeah.
Especially has the angle, too.
Yeah, and everybody who's watching can actually see the graphic. That's the beauty
there
of
it is.
Streaming stuff to people's.
Unless you're a podcast and you're audio.
Yes, in this case, you've never seen it, and you just get, that's why the music's there for you. In the beginning of our geek news section, we're talking about our new robot overlords. At least the new robots brought to us by Boston Dynamics and the Japanese engineers from the National Institute of Industrial Science and Technology groups. We actually have a couple new robot stories since the last time we've been on. And these things are genuinely, they're a little frightening in the fact that they work so well. And I can absolutely see these kind of robots really replacing.
They're upping their game.
Yeah, like unskilled labor, basically. We'll watch a couple videos. One of the box stocking robot here, which is from Boston Dynamics, and well, after the commercial, anyways.
We'll give a little plug for Detective Pikachu.
I plan on watching.
Now give us money.
Yeah, but this is just their robot, and it's. I think the most frightening thing in the fact is that it works so perfectly well. It just takes. It does what it's designed to do. It uses a vacuum to grab boxes, but it takes from one place to another. You actually see a second robot in the background doing the exact same thing, only he's putting it on a conveyor belt and sending it off to shipping, basically.
Yeah, and the difference between that and a human, no complaining.
Yes, no complaining.
Breaks.
No breaks, no overtime, no healthcare.
No lunch, no nothing.
I'm curious to see, I'm in genuine practice, how good are these machines around people who are supervising them or just watching them to make sure they're not mistakes? Are they going to ignore them and knock over a person? Or is this going to be like a no human zone where it's like, oh, no people are allowed on the floor? Because a lot of this ties back into like early 1950s, 60s sci-fi where like, oh, people really speculated about an industrialized future where robots did all your jobs. And there are all these fiction novels from people like Isaac Asimov where it's like, oh yeah, on these factories are 100% on the floor, no humans allowed just because it was so dangerous.
Yeah, you get in the way, literally.
The robots will ignore you. They move faster and they can be more efficient when they don't have to worry about knocking people over. And so people would just like be walking above them on platforms, making sure that everything is going okay. And kind of curious to see how that would work in practicality. But yeah, these machines can work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it could potentially be more efficient. I don't see it being per second faster at this point. Like a person can probably move that box faster.
Yeah,
but
this is just the beginning.
Over time, I'm like, yeah.
Wait till version 2 comes out.
Yeah.
But the way it's moving around, I feel like eventually unless they hook up with like Tesla and put those sensors on them, so they've obviously like thermal imaging, they realize, oh, there's a life form, they'll stop or work around, a la Wall-E.
Yeah.
Depending on their track and all that. So what's this guy? A drywall robot?
This is a construction robot. It can basically move things around. It has the sensors to work autonomously to grab and move things. And in this case, drywall. It's putting up drywall, and it's even has its own tools that it's using to put the drywall in place in the correct places.
Exactly. You notice that?
And I'm like,
no butt cracks also.
Yeah, and they're also showing you the version where there are also like plenty of other robots, bricklayers,
IKEA
assembling
furniture.
people. Yeah, and all these robots can be programmed for multifunction purposes. So like these machines are literally capable of today, like if somebody wanted to buy them or if they, to manufacture them, to be on a job site. Like they're actually independent at this point. So I'm like, yeah, that's genuinely scary for our workforce in the future. Like I'm already prepared for like a future where we don't drive. Where like long haul truckers are not in existence. Everything's automated as far as like driving, and I think that'll make for a safer world, definitely.
Eventually flying, eventually boat riding.
Yeah. But then, like, everyday jobs, like, oh, construction work, literally something that looks like you, only it's robotic, is doing a job that people do now. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I just see the cost benefit analysis, but like, I could totally foresee these things replacing people.
And to me, I call it kind of funny, is obviously compared to the upper image of that robot, it's more very obscure. It looks more like remember that little pendulum bird that would drop its head and drink water? Compared to the other robot that's below, they humanize it. There's no reason to humanize a robot.
That particular robot, it is specifically for like, multi-purpose function. Like the human body can do a lot of different things with the same model. It's just different programming. But you also see the ones that just essentially look like arms.
Yeah.
And that's what they're modeled after.
And they go
and they provide the same kind of function of grab and move that an arm does, but like the rest of the body is very different and unique. And I think that's the combination, like, robots can be specialized for certain tasks and humans can. We're good generalists.
What do you think that's left that a human has to physically do that a robot cannot do yet?
Physically, I don't know that there's a ton that there isn't some kind of machine that's kind of replaced us, to be honest. Creative, I think the projection in the future for jobs are essentially, servicing the robots, coding, creative outlets like movie production, television, media, books, all that kind of stuff. I think those are seen as the more secure jobs, which is a weird thing to say about anything creative.
I think in the medical field, there still hasn't been 100% perfected, because obviously,
I think
they haven't. In this case, they haven't created like a robot that can actually perform a safe, secure birth of a human. Because then we're starting to go borderline Matrix.
We use plenty of machines,
even for love.
Yeah, so high in technical fields, maybe that could be safe and secure from robot replacement, but it's genuinely like, I'm not trying to be an alarmist. It's just like,
it's happening.
It's the realization that science fiction has come true to some degree that is so surprising for me when I watch those videos. For me at least.
And that's just the physical robot. The AI world's a whole different environment that can be replaced, like actors.
Yes, we've seen actually really good AI, including like CGI created people who are on the news in China as like anchor replacements. I'm like, so there you go. Not even
replace put a little silicone mask over a robot body. You're pretty much replacing people. Now we're going to the Android state.
Yeah, to some degree that does. Okay, more news from the last couple of weeks. We have Google announcing that they're going to create and release a online gaming streaming platform, and they put out some really interesting numbers, basically saying that their streaming platform is more powerful than the Xbox One and the PS4 Pro combined, as far as like processing power and the ability to send information to a customer and to a consumer. They haven't given a ton of details. They said they're going to talk about more of it in the summer, but they announced it these last weeks at the GDC conference in 2019. So we don't have a ton. We had a few instances like, these are a couple games, but the big news was that somebody's like really big is trying to do streaming gaming, which is super difficult. What do you think about that one, man?
Well, we talked about it a bunch of times. I'll repeat it again. That's cute. You got a great system. What are your games?
Well, even from a technical aspect, I'm sure plenty of people were willing to make a game for a system that works. There were a few on the site demos for people at this conference where they were literally streaming as they would as a gamer.
What, Pong?
No, they were real games. They were real I forget what games they were, but they were real full on actual games.
First person shooter?
Yeah, no, I was thinking of something like Borderlands or something like that. Something that's it's a real full actual working game, right? From some other company.
Takes a lot of speed.
And it was basically a test of how good is the streaming service? And what it came down to for the testers, and these were actual broadcasters and news writers, they're like, oh no, it messed up at first. And then they're like, there was a slight delay once it got going, but it still worked. Glitchy. There was, because they weren't doing a test facility. This wasn't a perfect situation where oh no, we have a dedicated Google broadband line here. This was this is at the hotel for the GDC conference. It was real life streaming, scenario basically. And at first the system just kind of didn't work right, and then and the people were doing sorry, we're embarrassed, but we'll restart it real quick. And then it came through streaming perfectly fine, and there was from the reporters reports. They're like, oh no, there was like a slight microsecond delay, which might really kind of annoy some people, but the system seemed to be working relatively well. And this is in stark contrast to other streaming gaming platforms who've tried to do the same thing and have kind of failed as a company. So it is a very challenging thing and a lot of it's based on things that maybe Google can control, like how good is the Wi-Fi or how good is the broadband to that particular location. Like they can do all the processing on their side. Great. I'm sure you can buy racks and racks of servers and whatever else to do the processing. It's just how good is the connection between that server and that place who's doing the processing to your house or to your apartment or to your, and they're actually saying, yeah, you could actually game on your cell phone and it would be similar quality.
I remember seeing these like live demos, and especially when they go bad, they usually, because unless it's a pre-recorded video of gameplay, it's all simulated. But sometimes when it's a live feed, it starts glitching, and you get frozen, you get stuck in a corner, walking against the wall. And I could only imagine when they had to do a live fixing. I'm like, dude, they go old school and just like, well, there's two versions of it. There's the traditional reboot, just, control alt delete kind of thing. Unplug it for a couple seconds, plug it back in, or just old school smack it upside of the head like Fonzie and just get it up and running. And
their basic premise is that you should be able to game from any kind of streaming device. You should have a special plugin, the same way you do for like the things you plug in for streaming to your television, whether it's Google Chrome or whatever else. Yeah, just plug it in your HDMI. Plug it into your Wi-Fi or your broadband connection, and you should be able to game the same way you normally. And they actually showed off a special controller that was connected separately to your Wi-Fi than the part that's showing the graphic device portion of it. And so with just these two components, you should hypothetically be able to plug it into any television, with any Wi-Fi network potentially, and game from wherever you are without having to buy, a $500, $600 system or a several $1,000 cost PC computer.
Now, unless they go the realm of multi-platform, do you think they could pick up the licensing of either Nintendo, so you'll see Mario on there, or like Xbox and see
I think they Master could do Chief, whatever they wanted to. I mean, they're Google. They have the largest, one of the largest companies in the entire world.
Or make up their own brand new character. Suddenly that's going to be their
every game mascot. Company is probably like chomping at the bit, and I know they listed the game companies they were working with, including the big game companies like Valve and some other people, but
Konami,
yeah. Well, I don't remember off the top of my head. I really don't. But they were like genuinely big game companies, so it's like they have the influence and they have the connections to make actual games that are hopefully going to be fun and work. But like just the testing of this technology, like make it perfect, great, and then sell it to the other game companies, sell it to them so they can stream their platforms without having to invest in like this massive amount of hardware. And it might be cheaper for everybody involved, might be cheaper for consumers, might be cheaper for the game companies because they don't have to be production facilities. They can just be game companies. You know what I mean? And they can maintain hardware and stuff and great, but they don't have to actually be manufacturers of thing.
Did you ever play when you're on the Google search engine and whatever, and obviously they have every day is about like a different variety of the Google icon.
Yeah.
Sometimes they've actually made that icon into a mini flash game, depending on whatever the time of year it is.
I think it was like Pac-Man, and once it was like the snake game. I played this before.
I played this magical kitty that collected stars, and eventually, you collect so many stars and get to the next level kind of thing.
I know that thing. But yeah, all those things exist. Okay, next story. Apple, we just recently had some great new or interesting news from Apple, I should say. 3 big stories that came out of there. First is a credit card. Apple's apparently making going to make credit cards, but this is considered the most secure version of a credit card just because there is no actual information stored on this card.
I'm surprised it just straight out didn't go chip into your skin.
No, it is the chip thing, and then as long as the place you have has a chip reader, this will still work. It'll plug in. It just has your name on there, but there was no actual data stored on this card besides your name. What else?
Their logo.
Yeah, it'll just be
no strip on the back.
No, there's no actual. So it says it'll be done away with a credit. It says totally for your signature, a card number, or any other information besides your name. So people can't steal your information if they steal your card, basically. And it's also going to have apparently a 3-factor authentication when you'll plug it into wherever you're purchasing. It'll also require Face ID or Touch ID from your phone, so you actually have to have your Apple phone on you so it can recognize that you are who you say you are, and it'll send you a one-time security code.
Oh, that thumbprint.
Yeah. No, like an actual security code that you have to enter to authorize that particular card for that particular use. So essentially, somebody who doesn't have your phone, who doesn't have your face, and who doesn't have your card can't use this item. If they're missing any one of those three things, then they cannot use your thing.
That's a cool combo.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like the most secure credit card ever, which is a big thing for Apple, of course. And of course, is already hooked up to your Apple devices, so that it's ready to charge money.
Because let's be honest,
those songs and games.
Where are you when you don't have those three items with you? It's like that. The Adam Sandler song.
I'm hoping you're never without your face.
What was it? Adam Sandler song? Phone, keys, money, wallet.
I don't
wallet,
remember.
phone, and keys. Yeah, wallet, phone, and keys, but different format. Yeah, but I think that's going to be the next thing. The Apple Key. You don't even need
Could be
the
potentially
keys anymore.
Yeah. But I think this might be one of the bigger important products of like just having secure credit cards.
I like it because right now the standard security issues is of course your RF. Somebody literally has this device that just stands right next to you, and boop, takes your information, and can literally make their own fake credit card, like a clone of yours.
It can be, yeah.
And they use that. And of course, there's the basic stealing your numbers.
Industry, absolutely.
Yeah. But so I like that.
I think this might be the story that's the best part for me, at least. I'm like, oh yeah, this seems like
now
a thing that Apple might be really good at, actually.
Now, something like that would make me want to. Until obviously, I'm a Samsung Android guy. Until they go that route with having their own kind of thing, because I thought it was like a joke for a second. I'm like, everybody has makes a credit card. Hot Topic has their own little credit card line, but that's their own little credit services.
This is I'm sure Apple's still charging you interest, but it's competitive for everyone else, apparently.
Yeah.
And again, this is a future product. It's not actually out today, but it seems like it could be very good for just curbing credit card fraud to the release for Apple.
What do you think is their APR rate percentage?
I think it was something around like 15 to 20%, which is pretty normal for a credit card. I wish it was less. I really do. But that's what credit cards charge you. That's really not unusual. Yeah. And that's people with good credit.
Apple Bank.
I mean, there are plenty of credit cards that will charge you way more. Okay, now other Apple news in that particular conference, they also announced Apple Arcade. Another streaming platform for video games, this time from Apple. I don't think anybody thought that this was an accident, essentially, after that Google announcement of their streaming platform. But Apple revealed that they are going to have Apple Arcade, a single subscription with access to over 100 new and exclusive titles. It will be available fall of 2019 in 150 countries and regions. They have their pricing structures to be announced later. But a few games from there include from Miss Walker, Fantasian, Beyond a Steel Sky, Sonic Racing, Lego Brawls, Ocean Corn 2, Knights of the Lost Realm. I didn't play Ocean Corn 1, so I don't know. Projection, First Light, and Enter the Construct, which are all games that they showed like little demos and trailers for during the conference. But these are supposed to be real video games, not just stuff that's good enough for your platform, good enough for your phone, basically. So I think that's interesting that another streaming subscription service.
It's all about the competition, man.
Apparently, I know companies have been working on this for decades, basically. Like Origin, or no, I forget the name of the original company, but there was a company that did this for a while as an independent thing, and they literally had like big name titles that they were supposed to be streaming to your computer, and they went into business because they couldn't get the pricing model and they couldn't get a good enough product to stream that it made it worth people's time, basically. And so I know it's a super challenging thing to do, and if somebody's going to do it, I'm going to guess it's going to be somebody bigger like Google, who makes their own broadband and has their own fiber connections, or Apple, who has money to throw at it, basically. Now, the last thing they announced was Apple TV, which people have been talking about for a while now. Yeah. Apple TV Plus, which is a new subscription streaming service, another streaming service for you to buy in the line of like Netflix and Hulu and everybody else. And it's actually already on board. Apparently, it's already going to start. They have a bunch of big names associated with it, including like original content. So it looks like Apple is essentially trying to compete with Netflix and Hulu in getting your subscription dollars. So those are the big three things from the Apple conference. And I think of the three, again, the credit card seems the most practically excellent. It's something that's simple. It seems like it's easy to use and easy to work, and it's going to function. These other products, I'm like, oh, well, you have competition from the streaming side from Netflix and Hulu, so it's just another competitor. The gaming stuff, I'm not sure if it's ever going to work right. And so the credit card is the thing that I think is going to work the best.
Definitely. I definitely got my attention. Now I'm like, Apple, you might actually take my money now.
Yeah, no, they're definitely in competition with Google and a number of different platforms. And I think that these big companies are entering the gaming world and universe, basically, create some interesting competition between Xbox, Nintendo, and Sony, which are the other big three players. And they've had kind of this monopolish way with the world, and that they can kind of get away with like not producing super awesome games all the time, and not producing like really competitive gaming platforms, because the three kind of dominate the entire world at this point, with these other companies coming with seriously like genre breaking technology of like, oh, you don't actually need hardware to play these amazing games. Like you could have PC quality graphics and gameplay without having a $4,000 or $5,000 PC to play them, and you could just streaming to your regular old cheap computer or to your television, which might be the most expensive thing in your house, and still and get like the best quality graphics. That's potentially game changing for the gaming industry. Okay, next bit of geek news we have, talking about gaming. Comcast is actually going to build an arena for competitive gaming. Like they're really going to do. They're going to make it in Philly. It's going to be a $50 million project.
Wow.
It's also part of like another arena system, but it's still going to be a 3,500 seat arena. It's going to be in South Philly, and they're going to, of course, have other events there, but they're also going to dedicate part of it to like competitive gaming. So this is something it's already big in Korea, in China, and other places around the world, as like a really big industry, as big as any sports. And players who play in these competitive gaming systems, leagues, are as well developed and paid as actual athletes in the United States. And so I think this is a big step in saying that America is very much getting in line with the rest of the world of accepting competitive gaming this way.
And they are ridiculous. And I mean it in a positive way. I've seen a couple streaming events. I've seen things as small as literally playing video games with a couple friends in your living room, to the point of an arena full of people just watching somebody play.
Yeah.
And of course, with Twitch, you see the numbers. You see how many people are viewing, are watching people just play video games. The part that I find amazing is like, I thought they would just go virtual, just throw on the headset, and we're all in the same world. But no, they're actually physical places you could go.
They're making you come in and pay tickets to watch people play video games. And while it's, again, culturally, it seems weird for us, but in other places around the world, it's really, it makes perfect sense, because gaming is so much part of the culture. When you think of it the same way as us, gaming is a huge part of American culture now. So it kind of makes sense that we would be following in those same footsteps of like, oh, these competitive games that we're all playing, professionals are going to go into because there's money there, there's sponsorship, and there's entertainment value. And just seeing the streamers for Fortnite or for other online games or competitive playing, they get hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions. And so people who make money are like, they're like, oh, that. If there are people watching, we're going to make them watch professionally, and we're going to create a whole league and
make wear a jersey with our brand name and logo.
And it absolutely makes sense in that respect. So I think it's a good step for competitive gaming being an actual thing for people. But the other side of that is that there are also computer systems being set up to play players and compete with them. They're not as good as players overall. We've seen some examples of them taking on professional gaming sports groups and sometimes beating them, and sometimes just like weirdly failing like in real specific, odd, glitchy ways, but it's fun.
Oh yeah, it was always hard with me when I played versus a computer, when I played like a fighting game. I was like, how the hell? But it always did some kind of like impossible, like would block all the time, so you had to outsmart the system. Yeah, and some of that is just control. Next gaming story we have Borderlands. Borderlands was announced recently for Borderlands 3, which is technically the fourth game in that particular series, which is weird. They had a prequel come out, which is why that's the case. But you get your same cel-shaded universe. Apparently the producers, Gearbox, have said they're going to have over 1 billion weapons for you to collect and use and play with. But considering they're all like procedurally generated, I'm like, oh, okay, that's not hard. But you get the same content, you get some interesting classes. And most of this trailer is mostly just about like showing, oh yeah, this is same Borderlands stuff, but we have more environments, we have more bad guys, we're gonna have more weapons and new classes, of course. And that's what it's about. Like you see the different classes. Like there's a mech class, it looks like, and some other fun things. Here you go. You get including your snipers. You got your including the 6-arm Kali class, really. Oh wow! Yeah, I was never a fan of their
driving portion of that game, personally.
I like the visuals on it, and I love that some people took it, especially when they went to conventions. They did the body paint so that it looks just like the graphics.
No, we actually, I had a friend who's a friend of a girlfriend of a friend, I guess, at the last Dragon Con.
Brothers, girls,
and she actually did the same thing. She did the Borderlands cosplay, and she was Moxie, and it's like, oh, that's very nice. She had all the cosplay and all this stuff. No, I think, yeah.
All right, there was this little joke. I don't know if they'll show it on here. It was just like a meme joke. They're like, oh, there's going to be a little bit of a delay on the Borderlands 3 game because they couldn't come up with the cover art of a guy shooting himself three different ways. So
just give him
there's like
fake another blue arm. Yeah, give him a blue arm.
2, 3, something.
Yeah, with the billion guns. Yeah.
Oh my, yeah.
Guns with legs. Yep.
So Mech gun, yeah. You got your sniper, you got your...
Yeah, the whole game is over the top. Yeah. I think that's one of the few games that April and I will actually play.
It's fun.
Just because she's like, oh no, this is okay. This is not too... she doesn't get too frustrated with it. And that's the thing with gaming with my wife is that, if she gets super frustrated, she'll stop.
Is Fortnite too frustrating?
Oh, we don't have it. I don't think she's ever played.
It's free.
Well, she's seen me play before in Fortnite. I don't think it's quite her game. Because she's not quite patient enough to like see the reticle. She has eye issues as well. She says it's harder for her to aim. But in this particular game, it's like, oh yeah, this is one of the first games I think we ever played together when we were dating. So it always has a special place in my heart. Okay, more geek news. Or we have this one was interesting too. Remember we've talked about this before a couple times that there were cases where people would SWAT other gamers and cause deaths or harm. In this particular instance, the Kansas court sentenced a man to 20 years in prison on charges related to swatting. For those of you who don't know what swatting is, that's essentially when you're playing on like player match, you call in a report to the police that that there's like a kidnapping situation or some dangerous situation that causes the police to send the SWAT team, which is in the United States, it's a group of police officers with special license and equipment to kind of go in with armed forces, fully body armored, to deal with like dangerous situations like kidnapping,
like
people with guns, sort of. Except in this case, the person was sent to the wrong address, and the person who answered the door was shot to death. That's what happened in this particular case, and the people who were involved with like giving the addresses and like, actually calling in the SWAT were sentenced to 20 years in prison. At least one of them was. And so that's the story. And I'm like, and to some degree, I'm like, yeah, this is totally makes sense.
It cost somebody's life.
It actually cost somebody's life. Like the guy who opened the door was shot because the police thought that he was reaching for a weapon, even though no weapon was ever found on him. It was a judgment call, and that's why the police shot him.
Wow.
But the entire situation would have been avoided if like this and it's
the dork didn't.
It's supposed to be a prank basically. Yeah, it's supposed to be a prank where like your buddy's like, oh no, this guy you're playing an online match with, he beats you, and it's a revenge thing, and it happens a surprisingly amount of time where people will just call in like this call like, oh no, this guy's in my house, he's trying to break in, come help me, I've been kidnapped, and these are real life actual calls. And it's hard to catch these guys sometimes because they use voice and internet protocols, which means you have a fake number, you don't actually have the location. Like people can spoof that actual phone number for that house.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
And the police don't know about it. They're just responding to a call, and that's their procedure.
You literally get call from the other side of the world.
And the point of the whole thing is to actually get the SWAT team to go to that person's house and then hear the reaction over your gaming or video chat headset.
On Twitch videos, they've shown SWAT teams coming just in the background while the guy's playing video games. Like, what's up, man?
Yeah. Wow. And that's part of the thing. And in this case, it just went terribly wrong. Not that it ever goes terribly right. And somebody died. And so the person was actually found and held accountable. And the person actually pleaded guilty to 51 charges to do with fake calls, threats, and he faces up to 20 years in prison. So there is some actual, I feel like, justice. And I feel like this person took response because they actually pled guilty to this. Yeah, so it is an actual gaming thing.
Fair warning, kids. I know it's April Fool's, but
let's don't do that. No, please don't. No. It's not. It's not a bad thing.
Not cool, man.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Okay. More stuff. Contest. Do you plan to marathon the entire MCU universe? Anyways, all those videos leading up to Avengers Endgame. Well, you might want to apply for the shoppers. Apparently, CableTV.com will pay you up to $1,000 in cash to binge watch all 20 previously removed MCU universe movies back to back, all leading up to Avengers Endgame as its 2019 premiere. The prize will also include tons of MCU prizes, such as every MCU Blu-ray film and Marvel Marathon survival kits. We'll have a link in the show notes if you want to actually apply to that. It seems weird. I can think of better things to do for $1,000.
There's some theaters that are, once again, they're hosting the MCU marathons before Endgame, but from what I heard, time wise, I think it was like 45 hours,
something like that. It's a huge commitment of time. Like you're spending like a couple days at least.
45
like
hours.
4 days.
And then it's totally optional. Pee breaks. If you're gonna like, there's
honestly, I'd feel like you'd lose out on the money side. Like even if they gave you $1,000, like I spend more than that on theater food.
Yeah, hopefully they provide catering or something, because depending on how much the ticket would cost for that event, I know I think it was before Civil War came out. I think they provided a little medal for the people that won that. But for this one, for 45 hours of Marvelness,
they're willing to pay you $1,000 in cash just to do the thing. It's a total promotional opportunity for CableTV.com. So I get it. But for me, it's probably not worth it. Like I'd just rather watch the new movie personally. But hey, if you're a fan, like if you're that big of a fan, you might as well get paid to do something you plan to do anyways.
Yeah, $1,000. Let's see, divided by 20.
Nope.
We're looking at.
Well, it'd be like, what was it, 45 hours? I think you said. Yeah. So,
like, how much a movie would you be getting paid?
If you want to assume 50 hours, just so the math is easy, I think it's going to be like $20 an hour.
20. Come on, more than minimum wage. I could give you that.
It's technically more than minimum wage.
So for you guys that don't have a job, hey, might be something worth investing to.
Yeah, but that's that's a lot of investment in movies you've already seen. If you enjoyed them, great. If you want to do it as a big group, I think that's totally fun and interesting. Yeah. But that assumes nobody has a job to go do for 45 hours.
Some of us don't.
That does.
I'm unrealistic, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do. That's right. Okay, on to some fun entertainment stuff. There's been an amazingly fun fan theory for how Thanos is going to get killed in Avengers Endgame. The fan theory is that essentially Ant-Man's going to crawl up his butt as a little tiny person and then expand and make him explode for that. And this is something that I think they're pulling from the DC universe because this actually happened with Darkseid and the Atom.
Went inside in his butt?
That one not in his butt. He went into his bloodstream and into his heart.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say.
And there's this whole like comic series of like death coming for the characters in the DC universe. Mm-hmm. I forget the name of the character. It's like Dark Rider or something. Mm-hmm. But he's essentially death, and he's going over all these characters. Like this one is a man of science, and he understands the death. And he asked me he in his last moments before he dies. Like a good scientist, he asked me why, and it's the atom inside of Darkseid's like heart or something, or bloodstream, and he's ready to like explode and kill himself, but also kill Darkseid. And so they're pulling from that particular actual comic a storyline for this fan theory. But I think it's still super fun because they're like you actually wonder but you could actually do that. You just have to inject him in there somehow. And it would actually totally work unless like he has super nanites in his body to fight him off.
Yeah, because the thing is, you're Thanos. You're somewhat a humanoid kind of thing. You breathe. Yeah. So eventually you have to get inhaled somehow. Yeah, you get inhaled. But now the butt theory is a whole different thing.
Well, I think that's the funny part because then they're also like, bejeweled like butt plugs and stuff. Or like, that's how they're going to inject him in there. Yeah, basically. Now, Josh Brolin actually responded on Twitter with a post of a video of him like struggling to poop on the toilet, and he's like, and it was #flushed Ant-Man. That was his response to that particular fan theory, and I thought it was super funny and a great comedic way to address like semi-serious fan theories, like, how are they going to kill Thanos?
Because it was brought up. There was an interview. One of those junkets where it was the Ant-Man and the Wasp, where the theory was brought up to Paul Rudd, and they're like, have you read this? This going around now?
What's this? He's like, this seems interesting.
Yeah.
And he's like, you can tell he's kind of like restraining himself from laughing and saying, that would be a great thing. They haven't invited me to do it.
The thing is, I think what he said, the main thing that theory that it cannot do in the MCU universe is because of the rating. unless they could get very creative in it, which they kind of done things before with sticking things in characters' butts. But at least being Disney, you're gonna have to be.
They have the entire Deadpool universe.
Yeah,
and like
stick
the
things in
rated R
butts.
things, or they could do it some different without showing it. Like literally do this cutout here, and like, oh, Ant-Man's crawling on the toilet, and then he shows him sitting down, and then magically the next scene he's just inside of his body.
Exactly.
And you get with like that Martin Short movie, like, oh, now he's just inside of his body, moving through his bloodstream.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Because it reminds me of that I think they've done that like in a Mortal Kombat fatality where like Shang Tsung or something went inside the body and
ripped him out.
Exploded, that kind of way. But like the butthole part, I think that was the joke.
You could do it other ways.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are definitely ways to do it, but still, it's definitely a fun fan theory. It's one of those questions like, oh yeah, when you think about it, that's totally possible according to the rules of the MCU that you've seen. So
just inhale him and
yep, exactly. Okay, more comic book related superhero stuff. Apparently, Captain Boomerang is going to be back for Suicide Squad 2, and it's going to be the same actor, G.A. Courtney. So this exact same Captain Boomerang from Suicide Squad 1 will be returning in Suicide Squad 2 with the exact same actor, even though it's considered a reboot of the Suicide Squad franchise, which means that there's going to be a different Deadeye. That's his name, right? Deadeye? Deadshot, and a different Harley Quinn, a different everybody, hopefully. But this one actor is going to be returning, so that's interesting.
Maybe it'll be a joke on him. He's like, looks at everybody. You guys changed.
You guys, yeah.
There's like different haircut.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Also, in some entertainment news, we already know that Arrow is going to be ending after the 8th season. It's going to be a short 10-episode season, apparently. But one of the actresses apparently can't wait, and she decided that she's not going to be returning after the end of season 7. So she's not going to be there for the entire season 8 at all. The character, Emily Rickards, who plays Felicity Smoke, she's going to be leaving the show. And she's already filmed her last scenes. It's just going to end out season 7 with her, and she's not going to appear for the 10 episodes for season 8.
What is it on her part?
No, it's totally her terms. She's decided to leave, and like the producers, they come and say, yeah, we're confirming that this is the case. She's moving on to different projects. We wish her the best of luck in what she does. She's always going to have a place in the Arrow family, that kind of stuff. That's how they reduce it. So it seems like she's just leaving on her own terms, and I'm like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense. I'm like, so maybe she has some other projects she's doing. Maybe she got a movie offer and she had to decide 10 episodes of this show or this new movie thing or this new television series. Because, they're always making new television series every single season. And so she might have gotten a starring role in her own show. You never know. She's
semi-young enough. She's hot enough looking.
She definitely has the fan base. And that's one of the things that will be able to push you into other series and other genres of movies is if you have the fan base that's a fan of your character. We've seen that a number of times where geeky characters and geeky people with geeky followings will carry their fandom with them, including like Olivia Munn and some of the like television people who are just like, oh yeah, you got famous in this show, but that fame is carrying you into other shows, and that gives you an opportunity to show your chops and to increase your fan base and to show like you're not just this one character.
I was gonna say, do you think they're gonna typecast her, make her like the tech geek on some other show?
They might. They might actually keep her looks and her glasses and may change her personality or change her particular landscape.
You know who I'm thinking they might have replaced her with? Not on Arrow, because Arrow's done.
Yeah, they're replacing her.
That one of the NCASI one, the Navy one. Yeah.
What about
I think she's going to replace the goth chick.
Polly Parks?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That might be the case. I don't actually know. I guess we could look this up on the air, but
speculation. Yeah, it's just speculation.
Yeah. She could be replacing her since she's leaving that show. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And that might be fun for her. That show seems to be going on for forever.
Exactly. That's why. Hey,
just like as the characters get older, you swap them out, except for the one guy in the middle.
Change your haircut, color, maybe lose the glasses. But if you want to keep that geek,
that could actually work. Yeah, I think that would actually work well for a lot of fans. Okay, more entertainment news. We're apparently learning that the new voice of Chucky, the murderous doll, is going to be voiced by Mark Hamill. That is a very interesting twist to me, and I think that definitely brings up the geek cred for a lot of like on the fence viewers or potential watchers for that particular. But there was an announcement at WonderCon. Mark Hamill later confirmed it via Twitter with the video saying he's more than happy to bring this iconic character to life, and just remember that he's not just a doll; he's your best friend. And they try to be creepy about it, but I don't know that it worked.
Now, what do you think? It's going to be a tweak on the Joker character or something completely different?
No, I'm thinking tweak on the Joker character. Like it's going to be like this more maybe higher pitched, childlike I don't know.
Yeah, because
he's supposed to be the voice of a murderer.
Yeah. Did you watch the original Child's Play movies?
Yeah. They scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, the character did have a Joker-ish kind of sound, especially even once they introduced Jennifer Tilly. It was totally Harley Quinn and the Joker right there.
Yeah,
at least voice-wise. Like if you were to keep the same voices, add the DC animation of the Joker and Harley Quinn, totally them.
Yeah, you totally can see that. And I think Mark Hamill is a great choice for a voiceover actor just because he does a great job. He does great voices, but he also has a fan base to bring to your movie, which is part of the draw.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely on the fence. I might actually watch this movie because Mark Hamill is the voice. Not because I'm a big Chucky fan. I'm not. But because Mark Hamill's involved, I'm curious. I'm willing to pay you $10 just to see how that turns out. Almost
because the voice, it made it. That's what the main reason I played the Batman video games. That's why I watched the Batman animated series. He is the Joker. He is the voice of the Joker.
Yeah, and we're kind of curious to see how he does because he's done other characters before. Yeah. So there you go. So I think that may be good for the movie. Now, another entertainment news we have. Apparently, this is something I didn't know. Apparently, Sandra Bullock was up for the role of Neo in The Matrix. So this is the second one of these stories we've had recently in that the role was originally offered to Will Smith and he turned it down. And now apparently Sandra Bullock was also offered the role in this movie and she also turned down the role before it went to Keanu Reeves. I could actually see Sandra Bullock a little bit more like just replacing, Keanu Reeves. Their looks are similar. She has a very wholesome, characterish look.
I can see her being Trinity, but not.
No, I can absolutely see her being Neo. Yeah, she's the main actress. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to change Trinity for some of the love interests, obviously.
Yeah, well, keep it that way.
Or not. I mean, I'm okay with that. But I can actually see her in that role. She has a very similar look. She could martial arts training her up.
Miss Congeniality.
You could see her as a computer nerd, basically. And she had that frumpy everyman look. She's done it before, right? I remember this is in the heyday of her prime. This is not like her now where she struggles to be as relatable because has super money and everything.
So pretty much the people that saw The Matrix, they were watching Speed. They're like, who should we get? Him or her?
Yeah,
him or her?
They're both darlings of the entertainment world. And she was definitely in her prime of she's really relatable. She's an every woman. She kind of has this quirky personality in her character roles. And I can actually see her as totally as a hacker and then evolving into that main character Neo in a very similar way that Keanu Reeves does it. I think the tone of the movie might have been a little bit different, but I think it still really would have worked.
Well, if you're playing roles, giving the main role to somebody else, me throwing a random person in there,
sure.
I would have gotten Dolly Parton.
That would have been super interesting.
Yeah. Who would you like if
no? I think Will Smith would have been a really interesting choice.
Really?
He would have. I think he would have done an amazing job.
At the time, wife, I think they're still married now. Jada Pinkett Smith was a Matrix character.
That's in movie number 2 and 3.
Yeah, in the video game.
This is in movie number 1 though. Before anybody knew that this was going to blow up. No, but this was a chance that these actors had to take because nothing like this had ever been done before.
Yeah,
and this is a huge CGI project. It's mostly CGI and some of these scenes. And to choose your roles based on how well you think it's going to do. This wasn't a sure thing. The Wachowski brothers had this weird vision that you couldn't see. Just reading it from a page seems super weird. And so Keanu Reeves could take the risk, but apparently there's actors no, we're doing well enough. We can't see ourselves doing this role because it would have been a huge chance for them.
I would have gone with 2 other people.
Okay,
Chris Tucker.
Okay.
Oh God, I just had it on.
I think that would have been.
Oh, and of course, just because they always typecast more or less Johnny Depp, because he was another it boy at the time. Unless they go, of course, another big it boy, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I could see Johnny Depp. I could see Leonardo DiCaprio at the time. I think Leonardo DiCaprio now would be a better choice than Leonardo DiCaprio 20 years ago. He was a little
still
skinnier, younger.
Face,
yeah, still baby face.
Still Titanic, Jack looking.
Yeah, I like Leonardo DiCaprio now for The Matrix. He has a much more worn, world-weary kind of look to himself. I think he looks better as a frumpy computer hacker now than he did then. He was too pretty then.
Yeah, we'll talk about Leo later, but he's definitely looking more like a man now.
Yeah, looks so manly.
Yeah.
Okay, more entertainment news. We have some possible casting for Adam Warlock for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, apparently, which is on the back burner apparently for James Gunn now, even though he has been reinstated as the director. He has the projects, including Suicide Squad. So, but there has been casting rumors. And apparently 2 names have come up, including Zac Efron, and Lucas Till. And we have pictures of them. Lucas Till is the guy in the right. I can't remember his name. I thought for a minute he was Quicksilver. I'm like, no, that's not Quicksilver.
That's not him?
No, that's not Quicksilver. That's somebody else. So we know who Zac Efron is. And I think he would actually make a really good Adam Warlock just based on looks. But Lucas Till is somebody else. And I've seen his face before.
I'm an IMDb. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Lucas Till. Lucas
Till, that guy.
Famous for
stuff.
X-Men. Oh, he's Havoc.
Oh, that's right. He is Havoc.
Okay. The hair goes through his off.
Yeah, it's the 80s hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's Havoc in the X-Men if you've ever seen that movie. The newer ones with the kids. So there you go. The two possible choices. And I actually like Zac Efron much better. Like he seems like he would be interesting because he would be funny and serious at the same time. He can kind of do both.
I can see that. That's why I wasn't sure, especially on the version. They have made an action figure relating to the series of the what was it? Thor Ragnarok, because that's where they kind of talked about Adam Warlock, right? Or was it Guardians?
It's Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's where Adam Warlock comes from. Like at the end of that movie, he steps out, I think, and you see where you see like his frame of like that's who they're making.
Yeah, because there was 2 teases on Adam Warlock. There was if you know your nerd history, in the first Guardians of the Galaxy, he's technically in that little hive thing at the collector's joint in one of those display cases.
Yeah.
Technically, he's in one of those. And of course, then there's Guardians 2 where they're making him. Yeah. So depending on how they're going to make that little golden boy, if they're going to give him that same look with the red cape or go completely way off, and they got to give Marvel/Disney credit. They've twisted the look of certain characters, but they twisted them in a good way. So I'm hoping good things. But between those two, even though Zach's already has Disney cred, Mr. High School Musical and all that,
yeah,
I can see the other guy looking more like Adam Warlock, Mr. Lucas.
I don't know. I want to say Zac Efron is a better actor though. Like he's potentially more funny. Like if you've seen him in Baywatch and you've seen him in some other movies, he
Jeffrey Dahmer movie.
He does comedy pretty decently well as a pretty boy.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of fits in the Guardians universe a little bit. So I'm like, oh, that kind of works for me in that respect.
Let's get the other guy to hit the gym and get a little.
And right, you're absolutely right. He is definitely ripped enough to play this. Oh, look, Hans Zimmer has joined us. He's late to the episode. Yeah, that's fine, Hans. We're okay. Yeah, we're always happy to see you, Hans. So feel free to keep chatting.
Love you, man.
Yeah, man. Okay. Next story we have. Sources saying that Angelina Jolie is potentially going to be in a superhero movie, Jack Kirby's The Eternals. So I'm like, that's an interesting choice. And let me ask you a question. Like, with all these like really big name stars coming up for superhero films, do you think that kind of marks the end of superhero films being kind of geeky and niche? To me, this might signal the end of, these films are going to be taking a kind of a nosedive in popular culture, maybe.
You could call it ending, but who or what's going to pick it up?
Yeah.
Romance comedies, musicals,
yeah,
sci-fi horror movies.
I don't know. It's one of those things like where when big names start getting involved in it, like, and everybody wants to be part of this superhero genre, I always see that as a sign, like, that's the beginning of the decline of the genre. And I point back to like the Batman franchise. It was really good in number 1 and number 2, but then when like big names started getting involved in everything,
becoming Batman.
Clooney, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, you have like some really big names who are involved in these shows. It kind of marked the end of that popularity of a superhero stuff. So it kind of worries me that so many different people are wanting to be involved in as kind of a cash grab.
Hopefully they learned from that and they don't go that route, because of course, remember, as soon as Endgame's done, Robert Downey Jr. is out. We're not sure about supposedly with Mr. Captain America and of course the X-Men coming in, which is going to be a rebooted everybody
relaunch. Yeah.
So we're going to see what kind of we're not going to have those classic Avengers fighting that X-Men team. So who knows what's going to happen? I'm hoping, especially with
sure if they throw enough money at Robert Downey Jr. or Captain America, they're going to be coming back.
Definitely. And then with the X-Men team, reboot and all, brand new faces. it's definitely an opportunity because, you know, as much as everybody would love to see Hugh Jackman, you know, it's time to pass the clout to somebody else the way they did it with Batman, you know, pass the cape and cowl to someone else.
Although he said that he's willing to come back. He's like, oh, no, I'll definitely come back for an X-Men versus Avengers movie. I'd be happy to do that.
I want some of that Disney money.
He's like, but as far as the role of Singularity as like its own franchise without the other connections, he's like, no, I'm totally done unless we can get that back. And even Patrick was like, yeah, I'll come back too. If we can do that, I'll be back. Professor X again.
Yeah. Hey, They cut off some people. Hey, they saved $90 million not getting Johnny Depp to do another pirate movie. So
yes, there's all kinds of ways to cut money.
Superheroes,
yeah, but that's definitely a way to cut the cost, and they like to cut these big name actors with these big money contracts. And Hans Zimmer Charm says maybe all the big names see that the superhero movies is kind of where the money is right now, and that's absolutely true. Well, I kind of make the same point a few minutes ago on that. Yeah, it seems like it's a cash grab for some fading actors and actresses.
Remember, it's going to be a years before we Disney opened up their Marvel Land. Yes. And all that kind of stuff.
And that's totally fine. And then they want to transition. But going back to Angelina Jolie, would you be excited to watch an Eternals movie? I'm like, it's essentially the poor man's version of who are they? The New Gods.
Yeah.
Right. It's by the same writer, Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby left DC, he began the New Gods, and then he went back to DC and created the Eternals.
I say if they're going to do it
as the way he left Marvel for DC.
Yeah,
created the New Gods of DC, and then went back to Marvel to create the Eternals.
Yeah, unless they make it amazing and for the theatrical release. If not, I can see it being by that time. Hopefully, the Disney Plus thing comes out, and it'll be a Disney Plus exclusive. Right, because I don't see your.
Well, I don't know. I don't think the Eternals were as popular to me, at least, as the New Gods. The New Gods definitely got some play on the animated series of Superman, Batman,
definitely,
and that their popularity kind of jumped from there as well. But I'm not sure who people even heard of the Eternals.
See, I would have gone Angelina Jolie.
Marvel has so many other like really good names.
Yeah, I would have gone Angelina Jolie 20 years back. You know, when she was prime in her heyday as maybe Medusa. But now,
well, no, I mean,
maybe death.
No, Hans Zimmer Charm says it's kind of honest, hard to see Angelina Jolie in a superhero movie. I'm like, I would have said the exact same thing about Michelle Pfeiffer, but she does a really good job of playing the Wasp in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah.
But that's intentional, though. She's obviously
an age character. That's fine. But she's really good looking, and it's the same thing can be said of Angelina Jolie. She can play an older character. The same way that a lot of older actors and actresses have played older characters. You have Michael Douglas. You have the Wonder Woman's mother and all her aunts. Basically, all those women there are really famous actresses, and they work really hard for their roles. And just because they're slightly older doesn't mean they're any less good actresses.
Because depending on what role they play too,
encompass that character well. Great, like everybody in the Wonder movies. They did really well. They weren't half baked. They weren't just there for their looks. They did really good jobs with their roles, as did Michael Douglas and as does Michelle Pfeiffer. And so I'm not saying you can't have them in there. I'm just saying that it's kind of a mark to me of like, a lot of famous people are kind of jumping on this bandwagon. Yeah, and like, it might be a signal.
Yeah, don't expect her to go the route of like, aging superstars trying to hold on and become like I can't think of that.
Right, I definitely want to see her as a main character.
Yeah, don't expect her also like in a little two-piece or whatnot, unless she got in the route of Demi Moore and worked her body off. Like I think she might Charlie's Angels
right too. After all those kids. She might have.
Because she is coming out in Maleficent, and Maleficent pretty much this is all. All you see.
She's really good. I mean, she's still a goodish actress. And I'm not saying she can't do a role. I'm saying it's probably not going to be a main character role. Yeah. Like she might be the name on the other side. Like that's a big name just to draw people in, but she's probably not the main character.
Yeah, I could have totally seen her as the villain in. I forgot the name of her character. Thor Ragnarok.
Villains would probably work her well in the Helena
or something.
Yeah, Helena. That character.
Right. Yeah,
I could see her there too. That would have worked well. Not that I don't like the current Helena.
She was cool. She was cool. But like if they were to have somebody else, she could have totally done it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, bit of more news. There's going to be apparently a Princess Bride musical, and it's going to be made by Disney. It's going to be made by Disney's Theater Productions, adapting Rob Reiner's beloved 1987 film to the Broadway stage. And so there's going to be. I would watch it. I really would. I love that movie. It's super enjoyable. It's a cult classic, and I don't doubt that those tickets are going to be sold out as long. You have fun characters. I'm kind of curious, like, who would they replace Andre the Giant with? Because that's such a big role.
The Great Khali.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of people, but I'm just saying it's a fun show. And I would actually watch it. And apparently you would too.
You know, especially right now, their musical teams. You got Alan Menken. He's still around, alive and writing. You got I forgot their names, but the team that created all the Frozen stuff. They just won Tonys, and they got pretty much the EGOT. So they got it down for that. So depending if they come up with whatever songs, they're going to be catchy. Everybody's going to be singing along to it. Some people probably be annoyed after a while because there's going to be covers by other celebrities doing the same songs. So I think it's going to take off really well.
We'll have to wait and see. But I said it might be something I would actually watch.
Oh, okay. Totally.
More news. We have we know the Bill and Ted is coming back as a movie. It's going to be hitting theaters in 2020. It's what's it called?
Bill and Ted Face the Music.
That's it. Face the Music. And we already know that Bill and Ted are coming back, but also apparently Death. William Sadler is going to come back as Death. And I think he's going to look more like Death than he did, all those years ago.
Little extra, around the eyes,
yeah,
little sunken cheeks, maybe.
He's going to look a little more worn out Death.
Kind of actually like Skeletor.
I think that's kind of fun that they're getting the whole cast back together. What is it, like 30 years later?
-1.
30? Oh, well. Yes,
sorry,
you're
George.
absolutely right. Yeah.
Love you, though. But yeah, they showed a couple spots, too, where they actually had both Keanu Reeves and the other guy's name, Alex Winter. There you go. Alex Winter, both on location on the Hollywood Bowl for a music number they're going to do. Mm-hmm. They're also San Dimas, the city that the Bill and Ted are from. They're waiting for their shot, their opportunity to get a little shout out and all that.
We love Bill and Ted.
Exactly. I just don't know if they're going to go back to Raging Waters for the Napoleon scene of him conquering the water park.
Well, they never went back for number 2, so it's not like they don't have the entire multiverse to kind of go through. But they literally travel through time with their device.
But he's definitely going to be awesome. The part that I was like always kind of. Did you watch both of them?
Yeah, I've seen them both multiple times.
The one that creeps me out the more is the dad that marries the younger, like straight out of high school chick that becomes Bill's mom.
She's mom to both of the boys.
Yeah,
like in movie 1, she's the mom to one boy, and then she's mom to the other boy in movie 2. Yeah.
Yeah, but the creepy dad is like, that guy. Hopefully they don't bring him back.
I think I feel like they'd be dead at this point, or if like not
really old.
Like both Keanu Reeves and William Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are both older men. They're in their like almost 50s, I think.
Yeah,
if not already, late 40s.
The other one's
but still. And Hans Zimmer says inconceivable.
That guy,
about the Princess Bride.
Okay, now he's still alive, but he's also really old.
Yes, he's really old too.
Okay.
I would love to see him in the actual production. I feel like you could probably hire the whole cast of the original movie and put them in the film thing, and they would probably like, yeah, this is a good role. I haven't worked in a while.
Now, what do you think they're going to do? Hopefully they bring back Station. Station was awesome.
Station's easy.
And also the part is,
but yeah.
With the advance in technology, they could always do the like split screen, cut screen, where they, they've done it before. Or we'll use body doubles or whatever, where they go visit their younger selves.
Oh, yeah.
And with technology, if they want to spend that money, they could always do that as well.
Yeah. Totally true. Yeah. Okay. I think this is the last story. Yeah, before the movie showdown. Okay. And last bit of entertainment news is that they're going to do a Scooby-Doo reboot movie. And we have casting news for everybody. We have apparently that Will Forte is going to be Shaggy. Cool. Gina Rodriguez is going to be Velma, which seems weird. Frank Welker is going to be Scooby. Tracy Morgan is going to be Captain Caveman. Yeah, I was like, wait, I don't remember that character. But also, currently, Zac Efron is going to be Fred, and Amanda Seyfried is going to be Daphne. So we have the whole group cast at this point. I'm like, okay, Gina Rodriguez as Velma. That's an interesting choice.
No, they're not bringing back Scrappy, so that was kind of some people were fans of Scrappy, some people didn't like Scrappy. If you saw the other Scooby-Doo movies, obviously you're not getting pretty much the cast of Buffy being the Scooby-Doo gang again. No Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I didn't mind that, to be honest. I thought that was a good casting call for everybody.
I don't know where do you think they're gonna go? I see they conquered a monster island. They went to an amusement park. What else is left for the Scooby gang?
Anything. They can be the musician episodes. They have a lot of storylines.
On a boat?
Just copying like the animated stuff. They have plenty of storylines. They even did a new Scooby-Doo franchise animated series recently. So they actually have storylines to kind of go from everywhere.
Now, are they going to keep it kid-friendly, or are they going to trying to go a little darker?
I want to assume that they're going to keep it kid-friendly.
Because Scooby-Doo is not really of this era.
They could. No, I think it is of this era because they still make cartoons. They still have them on the Cartoon Network. They have them in places, so it's not like it's a franchise that's gone out of service with like the mainstream audience. So even children can recognize, oh, that you got Scooby-Doo still. But it's so I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind a darker Scooby-Doo. Like I wouldn't mind zombie Scooby-Doo franchise
because they've done comic book versions. They've done the like Age of Apocalypse kind of survival Scooby-Doo gang. Yeah,
some interesting stuff.
Hopefully, I forgot the name of the cousin, but Scooby-Doo had this like he's a Great Dane, right? The dog.
Yeah.
But he had like a black and white spots, and he was like a goofy kind of country bumpkin ish.
Oh, he was cousin. Like the what's it called, the Spotted Dalmatian.
Yeah,
cousin.
Yeah.
Okay, on to movie trailer shoutouts, folks. This is just where we play the trailers that we like the most these last couple weeks, and we decide which one we like the best. We're going to start off with Pennyworth, which is a spinoff of Batman. This is the original series that's set far back in, I think, World War II and the Cold War, where Alfred, the butler, gets his own show. He's a young man. He's Alfred Pennyworth, and we get to see his backstory of how he became a super spy and then eventually became a manservant to the Wayne family.
What was that? The Golden Circle?
And that was it. It was a super teaser.
No, but what was it? The Golden Circle movie? The one that like British spy intelligence kind of group?
Well, the Golden Circle was like the new age British spy intelligence with like the kid from he became
the
Robin Hood recently. That guy. He was like it was like this younger version of essentially James Bond. And next we have a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is an official trailer.
Kingsman.
Whenever I see this guy in the middle, I always think he's still in a role from Ralph Garman.
Yeah.
Whenever I see his face or hear his voice, I'm like, Ralph Garman double.
Yeah. Looks like him and everything.
Yeah. Every time I see him on any movie or television show, even though he's probably the more famous one.
All right. You saw the trailer previously. I just saw it just once earlier. Is the body double, what's his face? Brad Pitt?
Yes. The body double is Brad Pitt. The main character is Leonardo DiCaprio, and
that's kind of funny.
It's their story basically.
Yeah,
I had to look up a synopsis. And like, wait, is this the same movie I was thinking of? I thought there was like a Ted Bundy aspect to this.
And the twist that really grabbed me.
That's a different movie apparently.
Coming up. Oh, but I love all of old Hollywood. I think it's right there. Oh, yeah, Mr. Bruce Lee.
The Bruce Lee part was definitely the best for me.
Everybody just like that. Take my money now. I don't care. Bruce Lee cameo, Bruce Lee, whatever.
I would watch a whole Bruce Lee movie here.
A Quentin Tarantino Bruce Lee movie. Oh my God, that would be amazing. Which is kind of what you're getting right there, at least in those couple scenes. But the whole era, I love those. It's sad to say, call it a period film because it is early Hollywood. Early Hollywood. It's what do you think? 70s?
Yeah.
Some of the clothing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And this scene too.
It's super. I mean,
let it play this.
There's a lot of, and apparently it's the last film that Luke Perry was in before his death.
It?
Yeah. So this is the last film here.
Totally off the subject, but are all you guys in the library?
Oh yeah,
it is open.
Yeah, we totally moved our entire thing to a library. Hanzo in the chat mass.
Yeah.
If we're in the library, and the answer is sort of yes. Like we're.
This is all the Marvel titles that we have.
They're using amazing green screen technology. Look, now we're in the library, and now we're in the comic book library. Yeah, we got it. I mean,
there's all the trades.
We've been using a green screen for like I've been using on the other podcast that is the Liturgy podcast for about I think 6 months now, and I'm just excited. Hey, why not use it here?
Share.
I don't have to clean my kitchen anymore.
It's back.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's why we
kind of slit and stick my head out of there one day.
Have you float around? Wear a green shirt. You're just like a headless ghost floating around. There was actually an episode where I did that on the Liturgy podcast. I think it was around Halloween, where it's like, oh, I'm a headless ghost doing book reviews. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next trailer.
And this is real.
Dora. This is absolutely real. This is not from Funny or Die. It's Dora and the Lost City of Gold. And I'm like, I think it's super weird that she has boobs. Like, I'm be honest, like that was like
it happens. Girls
I'm like, no, I'm just like I'm used to Dora the character. I'm just like
you're just a Dora.
This is definitely early teen.
You're just a Dora, like a kindergartner kind of like little character.
Because that's what the character is, and I'm like, oh, it's weird.
That's not gonna kindergarten. I can tell you that. She's like a junior high-ish, maybe freshman in high school girl.
Like no boobs.
They develop. Hey, I have a daughter, and she's eventually gonna grow a rack, and I'm gonna have to adjust to that eventually, and that's the part about growing up, man. Anyways, totally. she's very playful, like her character. She's almost too cartoony type cast, like "Hi everybody," very kind of that kind of method. But the part that amazed me is supposed to be Danny Trejo is the voice of Boots, but so far in the trailer he's just squeaky talking. So I don't know if it's going to be like an internal monologue kind of thing, or she bangs her head and suddenly hears Boots talking. Because Danny Trejo has a certain voice. You could you could pick him up on a lineup out of nowhere just by hearing his voice alone. But her cousin Diego's there, but he's nothing like his animated version, so he's not rocking his own little backpack and whatnot.
Swiper, no swipe. Yeah.
That's the other part. Are we going to get those references? Are we going to see the swiping fox with the little mask, or are we going to hear the backpack singing the backpack song, or the map?
No, definitely feel like it's a little spoofy, but at the same time, it looks action adventure, kids, teens, going on an adventure thing.
And it's pretty clean.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I'm like, okay, they might actually work out. I don't personally plan to watch it. But I could see kids really enjoying it. So that might be something but the trailer itself was really nice, and it kind of assuages some fears, like, oh, this is going to be like this stupid kids film. Like, no, this is something
looks good.
Parents might actually enjoy taking their kids to. Like, it's not dumbed down or anything. No. And Hans says in time he misses the fridge. It's still there, man. It's not gone. You can come out for a beer whenever you want.
I could pull the magic, but that'll ruin the magic. I don't want to ruin the magic.
And next trailer is going to be John Wick Chapter 3, which is their latest trailer. And this is good. I'm already pre-sold on the John Wick stuff, to be honest.
That's why I feel like intentionally Keanu Reeves grew out hair, because I think he knew after this movie he was going to do Bill and Ted.
Well, no, he'd had the long hair, I think, in all of them. In all the John Wicks, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was just growing out. So by the time part 3, he has it that long.
Yeah. But this has been an interesting franchise to me. Like, book number 1 was kind of this weird indie film where he basically did his stunt double affair. Like, his stunt double went from doing stunt double stuff to being a director, and he's like, yeah, being this film man. And he kind of was like, okay, sure, I'll do this thing for you. We've been working together for years and decades or whatever, and it actually took off, mostly on like VOD, did moderate box office stuff, but enough to justify number 2, which did even better, drawing a lot of money. And then number 3, you actually have like a ton of like really big name actors and actresses coming in to do roles in this film.
Man, these avenging puppy killing movies are amazing.
Kind of, yeah, it's really good for a puppy film. Puppy killing movie.
Yeah, vengeance.
Yeah. Okay, last one is probably going to bring a tear to your eye. Toy Story 4, Freedom. And so you get the entire gang back together again. Bo Peep actually comes back for this one, which I thought was cute. And you get Sporky.
You get the origin of Sporky.
Yeah, Sporky.
So how many kids do you think are going to build their own Sporkies at schools?
As many who watch, there might be a whole thing like Sporky, the toys that you can eat with.
Now, do you think that actual
I definitely
Sporky
think
will be made to be purchased, or the pieces will be sold together to be made?
It's definitely going to be made to be purchased. They're also going to do the other, and probably they're going to franchise the heck out of this thing to make toys. You're also going to get them in like McDonald's meals like, oh, it's just spork with like maybe drawn on eyes or something and like arms, and the kids are like, yeah, I can eat with you and play with you. Nice. I can absolutely see that happening. Yeah,
I see Choking Hazard with a little googly eye popping off. But the whole concept, them being in like an amusement park / carnival kind of thing, do you think there's going to be any Disney jokes in there for like the theme park?
Maybe some super inside jokes, like maybe a pin seller.
Yeah.
Or something.
And I got to give credit right there for Mr. Keenan Peele and Mr.
Oh, yeah, the side characters.
Yeah. And that guy's doing so well for himself. Oh, I love this. I guess they're going with antique toys, kind of trying to put the quote-unquote modern
toys. Which is sort of what, I want to say that's what happened in 3, like the collector.
Yeah.
So maybe he's a returning character.
Oh, man.
But yeah, really cute kind of trailer. So of these 5 men, which one was the best for you?
Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just because of
nod and smile and say yes.
Just because of Bruce Lee, I think that was my favorite scene.
That's what made it.
But the Toy Story 4 character trailer was definitely my favorite, and that it does some really good stuff. I know this is a little for a trailer, a couple weeks ago, but still a really good trailer. Builds on nostalgia directly, and I think it's going to be a really big film.
Real quick, a little story semi-related to this thing. What was it? Kenan Thompson and Jordan Michael Peele?
Sure.
Which was the doing the directing job right now? I totally lost track.
Both.
Well, one's doing the one that did that movie. They did Get Out and the.
I don't remember.
Either one of them.
The bigger one, the one with the rounder face.
No, not the shape.
Not the skinny one. The
Jordan Michael Peele.
The one that looks more like me.
I want to say no. Well, anyway, I love his take on it. They interviewed him and they were wondering how come you don't have any white actors.
Oh, no,
I love it.
This was a whole thing, buddy. Yeah, he got so much flack for this too online.
Whatever.
But I love people were like, "Oh no, he's racist because he's not putting white people in his stuff like he's supposed to."
Let's say the line. He pretty much they interviewed him and said, "How come you don't have white people or in the leads in your movies?" He's all like, "I've already seen that movie. I've already seen a white person in the lead." So, and I give him total credit because he said he openly admitted he's like, "I'm not going to put any white people in the leads in my movies." It's
like, yeah, I've seen that film. That's not what resonates with me. I want to see films make movie for people like me with characters who look like me because that's what resonates with me. And other people took that as him being racist, and I was like, oh, that's
really?
Yeah.
Like there wasn't years and currently still, white leads.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh no, he's saying he don't like white people. He's white people." I'm like, no, he's not saying that at all. In any way, shape, or form.
I've already seen that movie.
He was like, "No, this is just what I'm choosing to direct. I have the power. I'm in a place where I can make these decisions as a director and a writer, and I want to make movies with people who look like me."
Exactly. I'm not making you watch your movie. Yeah. I'm not making you watch my movie.
Yeah, it's like I've watched movies with these other, white male actors my entire life, and now that I have a power and authority and I can make my own stuff, this is the stuff that I make because it resonates with me. And I'm like, as a black man, I'm like, I totally get that. I'm like, yeah, good for you, man.
Oh, but love that. I'm surprised we didn't cover that earlier.
No, it was more like, that was the big story was like the blowback from the internet.
Yeah, but everybody.
And to me, I'm just like, hey, whatever, man. You make whatever was ever good for you. Exactly. And I'm okay with that. Like, I absolutely understand that viewpoint, though. Of like, oh yeah,
Twilight Zone's still going to do.
I really always appreciate seeing a character who looks like me, and somebody who can relate to.
Speaking of, since he's doing the Twilight Zone, does Twilight Zone have that? Is he going to have nothing but black people in Twilight Zone?
Yep. You'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
I think the first. I think I want to say the first episode came out of that particular new show, and I don't know that it did well.
I don't know.
I haven't watched it. It's on CBS. It's regular television. I haven't watched regular television, broadcast television in years. I do streaming stuff, and I don't have the CBS
You're not missing
app.
out.
So yeah, yeah. There we go. Okay, that's the show, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hans Lumo, thanks for hanging out in the chat room. Feel free to go back and see the other things we did. But if you want to support the podcast in any way, shape, or form, you can find out all the ways to do so at
Geek Bytes. Excuse me. Oh my God, something in the throat. Let's start all over. geekbytespodcast.com/support.
There we go. Thanks for listening, ladies and gentlemen, for hanging out with us while we geek out about all these different things. Until we can hang out again, I'm Ramon Mejia.
I'm Edgardo Acosta.
And remember, until we can hang out again, to go geek out about something. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.